Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Or it's a Tuesday. That means we'll have Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Then we'll have Ron Coleman, star track athlete, the first Black individual to sign a scholarship at the University of Florida. So we'll talk to Ron, who grew up in Ocala. Now he's up in Clay County. Tremendous man. Talk about his signing with the Gators and what have you. Before we get started here, I want to talk about what Florida Victorious, who's a new sponsor of our program. We appreciate them. We got a couple more sponsorship opportunities that we added because we've had more people want to get involved. So if you have a business, let us know. But Florida Victorious, let me read it here. Let me pull it up.
I know about it, Shane. It's good.
What's up, buddy?
I know all about this deal.
Yeah, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Florida Victorious and NL partners of the Florida Gators announced they are teaming up with fans to chomp out hunger. Florida-themed limited edition boxes of fresh vegetables from Florida Victorious partner Front Door Produce will be available for purchase by fans between July 22nd and August the 12th. The boxes can be purchased for individual use or donated to benefit the Bread of the Mighty Food Bank.
Yeah.
So these boxes will be distributed on August 15th at Celebration Point, or they're going to be delivered if you donate them to the Bread of the Mighty on behalf of your name and organization. So fans across Gator Nation can participate in this great cause. So I think the entire football team is going to be there passing out these boxes on August 15th. So it should be pretty cool. What else do you know, buddy, that I left
Yes,
out?
I know the Bread of the Mighty Food Bank. France Beard's very familiar with that. They do some great work. These are the kind of things I like to see the Florida Victorious get involved in. Community, players, good causes. And I'm told these are great vegetables. I don't know. And I know it's going to be it's the kind of thing. Well, I mean, look, good vegetables are not easy to find, okay? And this place has some terrific ones. And I want to say that as much as we complain about doing things wrong, they are doing something right here. Congratulations to the Florida Victorious, Freddie Weeby, and the whole team.
Yeah, for sure. So again, you can go to floridavictorious.com and look at it, read it verbatim there. But basically, long story short, you purchase a bunch of vegetables. You can come pick them up and cook them yourselves, eat them, or you can donate them to the food bank. But those boxes of those vegetables will be being given out by every scholarship athlete at the on the football team there at Celebration Point. I'm sure it's going to be somewhere near Spurrier's restaurant. So pretty cool for sure. Buddy, we're close, man. We're only a week or so away from practice cranking up.
Yeah, weekends are just about to be wiped out for most of us guys working. I'm happy. I'm glad. I'm anxious. I know there's a little dip always right after SEC Media Days because all this stuff going on, all this information, much of which is hard to understand. Just getting a grip on it, trying to remember how many teams and who's in the league, then who coaches them, the players, a lot of information there you have to gather up. So I'm counting on guys like you to tell me. But no, I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a tremendous season. I can't wait to see how this plays out. This all 16, 12-team playoff format, which should be really interesting. And you can bet on one thing. Stuff is going to happen that we aren't going to expect.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm very, very excited about the year. There's no question about that. I wanted to get to a couple of these comments on Facebook. Tony had me cracking up, and I got to read it if I can get it to pull up on my phone here. Tony says, this is brought to you by Melda Law. Like Spurrier would say, quote, you need more color on that plate. If people aren't familiar with that, Coach Spurrier was big in the dining hall back in the day at Yon Hall when we used to all live together, eat together. Uh, the coaches would eat there as well. And you kind of go through the buffet line, put, whatever you want on your plate, go sit down at the tables, and coach would walk by your table and he'd look mostly at those linemen's plates. You need some more greens on there. You got, and so long story short, the linemen, they're stuffing like chicken breast, all kinds of meat. These dudes literally, because they knew coach would be coming around, they would hide like chicken breast, chicken fingers and stuff in like their pockets when he would come by, and they'd have their vegetables out there so he would see it. But it's so very true.
I was talking to Coach Spurrier about that once. He said, when I was coaching, I was the nutritionist. He was the nutritionist. They didn't have one. So,
Low Bottom Sports on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, QB, what game on the schedule will tell you all you need to know about the football team, Miami or Texas A&M? I mean, it's hard to really tell about the openers because you don't play preseason games, but Miami game is going to tell us a lot. It'll tell us a lot for sure. Andy's question for you, buddy, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. If you were Billy, how would you use the number 12 SEC preseason rankings as bulletin board material for the Gators this season?
I don't think you need much bulletin board material. I think it's been written and said by people like Greg McElroy, who have no love lost for Florida, that the most disrespected team in the SEC this year in media days is Florida. And by the way, I would love it because that's exactly what you need to get players jacked up. Those guys got pride. And I think that they all know it. You don't need to put bulletin board, but the master of that was Urban. He did that before the national championship game. He made up stories, put them up on the bulletin board, and so on. So it worked for some teams. I would just do what I'm doing. I'm saying, you know what we're looking at. I like the fact that Billy did not start crying and whining about the schedule, which would have been real easy because he has the most difficult schedule ever in the history.
Supposedly.
All right. Well, what else do we go by? We only can go by the projections, right? We don't know.
Well, we're going by what they did last year. What those teams did last year.
Well, I mean, a little bit, but still, we're going by the rankings of the teams on their schedule.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. So, if you go by that,
Conyer Ron has a list here that popped up on one of his feeds. The top 10 Gators of all time in football. I'm going to read it. I disagree with a lot of these. Tebow at 1, Jack Youngblood 2, Werfel 3, Lomas 4, Emmett at 5, Wilbur at 6, Carlos Alvarez at 7, Eric Red at 8, Wes Chandler 9, or maybe I got it wrong there. But anyway, that's only 9 guys. Man, I don't know. They don't even have Steve Spurrier on that list.
Yeah, and he was a great player. And when I was talking to somebody recently about that, involved in the program, they said people talk about Spurrier, the coach. Spurrier, the player, was a hell of a player. Mm-hmm. I saw him play every game.
Spurrier was number 1, so I was reading it wrong. I will say this, okay. I did not see Jack Youngblood play it down at the Gators. I was a kid when he was playing for the Rams and the pros.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw Emmett play. Mm-hmm. I think Emmett's a tremendous running back in college. He was a better pro than he was in college. Nobody's going to argue that.
Now,
Fred Taylor is clearly the best running back when he wore an orange helmet that said Gators on it. Mm-hmm. Clearly the best. And then I would put Eric Rhett right behind him. And then maybe Emmett. I'm talking about as a Gator. So you can fill up my text feeds and all that stuff. That's my personal opinion. I did not see Wes Chandler play. I did not see Carlos play. I know they were tremendous players. I know Lomas was a tremendous player. But I think sometimes when people talk about the best players at whatever school it is, they look at too much of what they did maybe as a pro, which has no bearing.
All the time.
Yeah, has no bearing.
Tell you one of those guys, Jack Youngblood. Okay,
right.
I mean, I saw him play. He was a terrific young player, skinny little guy when he was a sophomore, and he was a really good player, but he was not that much of an impact. I mean, there's other guys you can think about that could go on that list. How about
Yeah.
Percy Harvin, who some say is
Well,
the greatest player ever played at Florida?
Percy
Some.
Harvin, in my opinion, and like I said, I did not see Wes Chandler because a lot of people, I saw
I
Wes
did.
Chandler when he
He
played for the
deserves to be
Saints,
there. He did.
but Wes Chandler played at a bad time. Probably they didn't get the ball
Well,
the way
listen,
they
they
should
didn't throw
to.
the ball. If they threw the ball
Yeah,
like he told me one time, if I'd have played for Coach Spurrier, I'd have caught 200 balls, you know?
but Percy, in my opinion, from my time of watching the Gators play,
Right,
was the
right,
best I ever saw with the ball in his hand.
right. Yeah, you can go on. I'll tell you something. You get lost in this because you take one of the old time. Let's take Tommy Shannon. You ever hear of Tommy Shannon?
Oh yeah, T-Bird.
Yeah, T-Bird was the buddy for Spurrier, and of course
Mm-hmm.
they played at the same time. You know, he's the greatest player of Florida he ever saw.
Who?
Larry Dupree.
Larry
You probably
Dupree.
never heard of him.
I
I
have
saw
heard of
him
Larry
play in high
Dupree.
school. Said he's the greatest player of Florida I ever saw. So it's subjective. Those lists are interesting. It's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to put 10 up there, but that's his list. Okay, fine. But there are many other great players that don't get mentioned, and it's disrespectful sometimes to do that. But that's his list, and that's his opinion.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's his opinion. He saw it from some other lists, but yeah, it's always baffled me how, because there's a lot of players that kind of blossom, whether they were in the wrong type of system in
Right,
college or whatever, they blossom in the National Football
right.
League. And then they want to say that was one of the best players in college. Well, he wasn't.
And
All
Emmett's
right.
one of those. Emmett is one of
Yeah,
those.
I agree. I love Emmett, but Emmett was nowhere near the running back Fred Taylor
No.
was, and maybe even Eric Red in college. Um, there was something on here. Oh, Jack on YouTube, brought to you by Quad Plum, says, when I hear all the discussions about stars, I think about Bobby Sablehouse. I didn't think he ever lived up to that. Well, he didn't. He never played a snap, and he was the number
Right.
one
I'll
quarterback in
say
America. Says, do you
complete
know what
bust.
happened to him? Bobby became, I believe, I think I've tried to get a hold of him. He ended up being a big time producer doing like movies and stuff.
Really?
Uh, Yeah, he's done a lot of a lot of those 30 for 30s as well on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
But we're still trying to get Bobby on here. Didn't
You
work
know
out
what?
for him,
Those are the
but
kind of stories I'd like to hear about.
he's doing very, very successful in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. No, good for
Um,
Bobby.
yeah. All right, buddy. As we said, football's right around the corner. SEC Media Days is over.
Mhm.
How do you feel now that Media Days is over and
Yeah.
we're heading into the
Yeah.
season?
I wrote a long column about that day before yesterday, probably longer than most people care to read. But to get context on this whole thing, this whole season, because it is the year they expanded to 16 teams, the two of the greatest programs in college football history added to the league. I mean, it's a monster now. I wrote a column saying, should we say, be careful what you ask for? And I remember some quotes of things that happened that were big. And I remember the Enola Gay being dropping the atomic bomb and the pilot saying, "What have we done here?" And not to compare war and all that and that stuff to sports. But my point is that I love it. I think it's great. But what if it isn't? What if it doesn't work out that way? Doesn't produce what we hope? I think it will. I'm extremely excited about it. I think it's something that will get. One of the things they'll do is means the players must remain committed. You're not going to get to the postseason and see guys quitting. That's the most despicable part of the game for me that's happened because you're going to have 12 teams, and at the end of the year, probably have 20 teams that have a chance. So players are not going to quit, which is great. It'll make for better football, I hope, and I think it's a good thing. But we're going to see soon. But in my opinion, it's the biggest, most significant change in the game I can ever remember, and I've been calling for it for 30 years to get this expanded playoffs. So we got it. Let's see what it is. I think it'll be great.
CertaPro Painters of Gainesville is the area's leader in painting excellence and proud partner of the Florida Gators, offering professional painting services for homes and businesses, plus cabinet refinishing and carpentry repairs. Visit CertaPro.com for a free estimate. We got Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. We're going to have Ron Coleman, first black athlete to sign a scholarship to the University of Florida, will be joining us. Great track athlete. Was signed by Jimmy Carnes and
Ocala guy, my home guy.
yep, yep. Jimmy Carnes was his coach, and Ray Graves was the AD back in those days. So we'll talk about his signing and how it was back in those days for
Very
sure.
quiet. Nobody made much out of it.
Really
Yeah, it was not a big racial story.
interesting.
I mean, I wasn't living here during that time, but I've been Ocala and I kept up. But it was known. But to get generally speaking, the athletes who broke the color line were, of course, the guys from Tampa. They would sign on with the football team naturally. So when that happened, that was big news.
Yeah. I just remember, I don't remember the entire story, but I remember my dad and mom telling me, but I don't know if it was the first, I think it was just the first student, because I don't think at Ole Miss they had a black athlete playing football until like in the 50s. No, maybe,
Six,
no, I'll take that back. I take that
60.
back until I think the first student was in the early 60s at Ole Miss and they raised hell.
Well,
Uh,
because of all the background they had there during the whole issue. So,
right. But I'm trying to remember when the first black athlete went to Ole Miss. I'm not even worried about looking it up. So, all right, buddy, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line for you. Well, it pops up. There's a million on here. Good gracious, I haven't read them.
while you're
Josh
doing
from
that, can
Mississippi.
I just say this? I keep getting asked this question, and I think people know it, and they go, "I don't." They say, "Buddy, when is your show on?" Okay, just let me just tell people I'm on 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday, the Buddy Martin Show. Go to YouTube. I keep forgetting to say that. People say, "Well, how come you don't tell us where your show's on?" That's when it's on. Thank you.
Yep, he is Johnny Carson of Sports Talk Radio for the
You're
Gators.
David Letterman.
Josh said some people that watch this show don't even know who Johnny Carson is.
True.
Um, QB, can you ask Buddy what coaching hire or change was the most critical in his opinion that Billy made? And then what was the inside scoop on why Corey Raymond didn't work out?
That's a wonderful question on Corey Raymond. I had high expectations for him. I just thought he was going to be the answer in the secondary. Something didn't click, and I've never heard a good explanation for it. Have you? Never. I don't know what happened, but obviously there was a disconnect.
Well, that and I don't know if he was a great coach. It was always rumored that he was a great recruiter. Um, so I don't know. I think he did he go to the NFL or did he go back to LSU? I can't remember what he did.
I don't know,
Um,
but he was the architect of the great secondary, and supposedly in LSU, I thought it was a great hire. Uh, what was the question about? What was he? Have you heard about Joe Hamilton? See, we don't know these things. I don't know much about recruiting, but people are
yeah.
heralding the return of Joe Hamilton as a huge deal, director of scouting, because he was involved in some of those big decisions and getting ahead on some of the key players early and even DJ Lagway to a certain point. So I've been reading that last 2 days. Joe Hamilton, I didn't know much about him or don't know now. In terms of recently, who was the biggest hire? I mean, I think Billy Gonzalez was a huge hire, in my opinion. Bringing him back, I think that was big.
Yep. 31 Ember on YouTube brought to you by Quad Plum says, did you see where Florida has the most NIL deals of any school? This is for all sports. 498. The next closest is Texas with 367.
Whose
You see
numbers
that,
are those?
buddy?
Whose numbers are those?
I don't know. I did see that on Twitter though.
Okay, who knows? It must
Now
be
that
true. We saw it on Twitter. I don't know.
must be true.
I can't keep up. I'm surprised. I don't think that they're necessarily that wealthy. I don't think Freddie Weeby would probably agree with that, but I don't know the answer to that. Okay.
Well,
They're still,
no, I mean that's what was posted.
yeah.
Um,
Well, okay.
Cliff wants to know, and that's not the Joe Hamilton. It's not the quarterback that was at Georgia Tech.
No,
This is not the same Joe Hamilton.
no.
So if people aren't aware of it, Joe Hamilton was here as the director of player operations or general
Director of
manager, whatever the
scouting, I
titles
think.
are. He went to A&M, uh, and he's back. So
Here it is. Joe Hamilton had been the assistant director of player personnel and NFL liaison for the Gators. Had initially gone to Florida with Napier from Louisiana. Well, his role behind the scenes, and most fans probably are not too familiar with him, there's no mistaking his impact on Napier's staff. Multiple players, including DJ Lagway, credit Hamilton as being a big part of the recruiting process. So there you go.
yeah, and Frank sent a text on the Titan More text line. It's interesting that Joe Hamilton has come back to Florida after only a few months
Yeah,
at
what's up
Texas
with that?
A&M. Why do you think he came back after such a short time at A&M? This should have a huge impact on our recruiting. I have no idea. Um, Maybe he and Elko didn't see eye
Yeah,
to eye.
could be. That
I
most
don't know if
likely something
Elko.
to do
I
with
don't know if
Elko.
Elko fired him and then we rehired him, or if he picked up the phone and said, "Billy, I made a mistake.
Yeah,
Can I come back?" We
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. There's so much we don't know. It's so hard to know what's going on with the
But do
football.
you care? Do you really care why he came back?
No,
Okay.
I think it sounds like it's a great thing. I don't know Joe Hamilton. I'm taking the words of others that he was a big impact guy in recruiting. Everybody knows recruiting is everything. Nothing matters anymore, including the score of the games. It's just recruiting.
Bull crap. I could care less about recruiting. I want to
That's
win
my
games.
point. That's my point.
Yes. Silverback concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. All right, buddy. Before we get you out of here, let's don't forget we didn't get to talk about the British Open.
Yeah,
If you missed it, buddy, I picked the Scottish Open winner and the
you
British
did.
Open winner, so I'm on fire. Um,
Congratulations, Shane. You
our
did
man
great.
Billy Horschel had a chance.
He
Played
did.
well, but the other guy just played better.
What I liked the way Billy played was he came back. It could have all come unglued. He could have finished 10th. He finished tied for second. This is his highest finish ever in a major. And I like that he kept battling. He hits the ball so straight. And when he's rolling his rock and playing putting well, he can do some damage. So congratulations, Billy. But your man Schauffele was incredible. He was a consistency machine. He was putting great. He didn't make any huge mistakes. He held it together, and boy, there was a lot of pressure because that weather was so bad there as it is and should be the British Open. Shane, don't let me get off here without saying something about Bobby Witt Jr., okay? You know who Bobby
Mhm.
Witt Jr. is?
Yeah, he plays for the Royals.
Yeah, he was on one. He was on a single of having a hitting for the cycle last night. Okay, he had a home run, triple, double into the single. And why this is significant is the Royals have gone the longest without having a guy hit for the cycle since like 1980 or somewhere there. 19. It's been a long time. And so he comes to the plate. The Diamondback pitcher plunked him in the back, hit him.
Oh,
There was a little of a riot. I wouldn't say riot, broke out. But how about that? I mean, if you're going to do that, just put the guy on. Why hit him?
yeah.
Just go ahead to first base. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. And that's a rivalry, the Diamondbacks and the Royals. It's a good one. And by the way, the Cags will be playing with him soon. I can't wait to see him playing. Cag going playing with Bobby Wood Jr., who's a hell of a player, by the way.
Yeah. This day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 2000 British Open at Royal Lytham in St. Anne's. That's where they play next year, I believe. Tiger beats Thomas Bjorn and Ernie Els to win his first Open title, becomes the youngest player at 24 to win all four majors. Poor Tiger just can't compete anymore. It's a shame.
Did you see
Um,
the scar on his leg? They had a picture of it on Twitter.
yeah, buddy, here's the thing, and I'm a big believer in this. Tiger still got game, but you cannot just show up and play majors and expect to compete. You have to play competitive golf week in and week out. Maybe take a week off here or there, but you just can't just show up. These guys are way too damn good.
Tiger's not going to win anything else again. Look, I
No,
mean,
he's not. He's not.
he's
But
a
I
ceremonial
think,
golfer, is what he is.
right.
Nothing
But if he
cheap.
played more, he would get that competitive edge back and be
But
able
he
to at
physically
least
can't play
make a
more,
cut.
Shane. He
Huh?
can't physically can't play more. It's too
I
hard on his
guess.
body. He
I
can't grind
guess.
for 72 holes. He can go out there and get you 36 holes every now and then, but he can't do that. It's just
Well,
not a.
he can't get 36 because he can't make the cut. So that doesn't do him
Well,
any
that's
good.
true too. Well,
Did
you it's not
you know,
making
I
it.
was thinking about this. When you watch the British Open, because the weather changes so much,
Yeah,
and there's nothing worse than playing golf in the pouring rain,
and when it's
right?
cold, and
Because
when it's
when that happens here, usually you try to wait it out. If it doesn't start raining, you just haul ass home. If you grow up over there, you have to play in that stuff because it's like that on a daily basis.
yeah. Hey, what they
I
say
would
in
move.
Scotland, they win, they golf. That's what they say. They win, they golf. So I mean, yeah, it's all part of it. Did you see? I didn't know caddies could wear shorts in
Yeah,
a British Open. Did you know that?
they can wear shorts everywhere, but the Masters have to wear the jumpsuit.
I would think they would not be able to wear it in the British Open. Anyway, that's just me. So
Yeah. All right, buddy, who you got on your program tonight?
Graham Hall is going to catch us up and tell us what was Joe Hamilton, what's the deal on that, how's the recruiting going, and what should we be looking for as the Gator rankings and recruiting shoot up after getting Vernell Brown the third. And what a terrific pickup that was. We knew it might happen, but what a
And,
player he's going to be now. And I
and
think,
what's crazy is we had like 3 comments about that last year, not
yeah.
one today. But as I said, it's positive news, and that bothers people. It does. It does. Because, buddy, think about if he had committed to Ohio State or Florida State.
Oh yeah, oh it'd be hard, yelling, screaming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no
So,
doubt about it. Yeah, for sure. But
all right.
yeah, so we're looking forward tonight to having Graham and Shane. You have a good week.
All right, buddy. You too, my man. We'll talk to you soon. We're going to take a
Right.
quick time out. We come back. We'll be joined by Ron Coleman, the first Black athlete to sign a scholarship at the University of Florida. Get his thoughts, tremendous track athlete. Get his thoughts on back in the day, throughout his career, and what Mouse Holloway's doing as well. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Our Gridiron sponsors, Sutter Pro Painters, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45. Our touchdown sponsors are Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wild. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve and small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're going to go back to the Titan MRI hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we're joined by Ron Coleman, the first Black athlete to sign a scholarship at the University of Florida. Ron, how you doing, my man?
Good morning, Gatorland. Good morning, Shane. I am doing absolutely wonderful this morning. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on here. I've been trying to get you on for a while, and let's go back to your days. You grew up in Ocala.
Yep.
And I grew up in Mississippi, so I've heard the horror stories. You know, my dad was an athlete at Ole Miss. I was talking earlier with Buddy. I can't remember. I just remember my dad telling me when the first Black student came on campus at Ole Miss, it was a mess. But let's go back to your days at Ocala. Tell us about the signing of a scholarship to the University of Florida under Jimmy Carnes to go long jump and triple jump and run track for the Gators. What was that all about?
So I'll give you the brief version, the brief digested version. And it started as a high school student, of course. And I discovered that, well, my coaches discovered that I had talent. I had a great talent for running and jumping. My ninth grade coach literally uh, discovered me. Skipped to the 12th grade when I set state records, became well known throughout the state, actually throughout the SEC. Uh, and Coach Jimmy Carnes, who was always out for the W. That was Jimmy Carnes was about the W, and he came to Ocala and recruited me to the University of Florida. And on senior skip day, my senior year in high school, Coach Ray Graves, athletic director and coach, and Jimmy Carnes came down to Ocala High School, and they were literally there waiting for me as I drove up from Daytona Beach on senior skip day to sign that scholarship.
Very cool. So what other schools wanted you?
So Tennessee was one of them. Believe it or not,
Mhm.
Alabama, FSU. There was a West Coast school. What was it? Not UTEP sent an offer, and San Jose State also had an offer from a few schools up north. But I was impressed with Coach Carnes, and he came down to visit me and my parents, my dad, at our home in Ocala, and that really made all the difference.
So you get to the University of Florida, and obviously, I don't even know, were there regular black students on campus?
Yep.
You being the first black athlete to sign a scholarship, I think there may have been some other walk-ons possibly, but what was the reaction? What was it like on campus the first week or so?
The first week was rather lots of angst during that first week, and it was probably because of the hype that surrounded the first black athlete at UF. There were several folks who did not want that to happen, and among those people were some state legislators. The university president himself voiced concern about it. And I think that hype, that attention that was drawn to the fact that Ron Coleman, first black athlete, stirred up a bit of animosity in those who were leaning in that direction already, who had that bent, as it were. And so that first week was it was interesting because those folks knew where Jan Hall was. I like the T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they knew where Jan Hall was. They knew where I was living, and I was literally chased around the campus. But
Wow.
here's the key to all of it, Shane. My Coach Khan, said to me on the day I arrived, Ron, if they get after you, just run to my house and we'll take care of you. Me and Nanette will take care of you.
That's funny. Um, Conyer Ron has a question on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plum, and he says, "Did Ron travel up to Gainesville to attend sporting events as a kid in Ocala?" Kind of tell us about that. I mean, I'm trying to picture this is in 68, correct? Or
Correct.
you were in high school from like what, 64 through 68. Did a lot of, I mean, if you went to a Gator football game, there probably weren't a whole lot of black people just sitting in the stands, right?
Nope, there were definitely not a whole lot of black folks up in the stands. I had an uncle who worked at the University of Florida, and somehow he managed to get tickets occasionally, and he took me to a game. Uncle Sugarman took me to a football game over in Gainesville, and we sat in a section. Let's see, it's the south. It's now the southeast, no, southwest section, way up in the stands, of course, and there were just not even 100 blacks in attendance at that game. I looked around and saw some folks. And to answer your question about students already there when I arrived, there were about 300 students, black students there already on campus when I arrived.
Let's talk about Yon Hall because that's where all the athletes that people aren't familiar with. It's on the east side of the stadium. It's closed down now. It was there from I don't know when it opened in the 60s. It closed in like 19. Well, I got it right here, 1966. It was established, and then it shut down about 95 or 96.
Mhm.
How were you greeted by the other sports, whether it's football, basketball, or whatever? Because, let's be honest, there were still some white people that didn't want black people living in their dorm or what have you.
Absolutely, yeah, that was the case, and of course my track teammates were cordial, especially cordial. Some of the other athletes from other sports were cordial as well, but that didn't carry across the entire spectrum. There were guys there who literally would stare me down, would call me names, and would avoid coming close to me, even in the training hall. I often ate alone in the training hall unless some of my teammates happened to be there at the same time. It
And
was it
Andy's
was an
question,
interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Andy had a question here for you on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law. Ron, can you share the story about the first time you met Jack Youngblood and how he impacted your time at UF?
I sure will be glad to share that. It's one of my favorites, and it was not literally the very first time that I had met him. It was the first time that we had had an interaction together. I had seen him across the room. I knew who he was. He knew who I was, of course. And as I mentioned, I'm sitting there in the training room at the training table, having a meal, and all of a sudden, the shadow just comes across me, and immediately I thought to myself, oh boy, this is it. It's about to go down." So I kind of sat up a little and I began to turn around to see who this shadow belonged to. And I kept looking up and up and up. There's this towering figure looming over me, Jack Youngblood. And I thought to myself, oh boy, my daddy said I was going to die up here. And it looks like today is the day. But here's what happened. And here's the great ending to this story. Jack said to me, well, what's wrong with you? I found out later he was implying that you're eating all alone. Why are you eating all alone?
Mhm.
I didn't realize that at that moment. He said, "What's wrong with you?" And I figured, okay, I need a little space if I'm going to go down. I started moving away from Jack. I kind of stood up. He said, "No, you don't have to stand up." And it still brings chills to me to this day. He said, "Can I sit with you?" And that just took all of the tension away. All of the other athletes who might have had some prejudice noticed that Jack was there sitting with me, and that really made a difference in my life at Yon Hall on campus, within the athletic department, and throughout the campus.
That's awesome. That's a great story, no doubt about it. Let's talk about track. Obviously, you were a SEC champ, long jump, triple jump. But I got to imagine when y'all traveled, depending where it was in the state of Alabama or Georgia or somewhere, how did the people react? I mean, did you run into, you hear all these horror stories, me growing up in Mississippi, I've heard these horror stories, you can't use our restaurant, you can't use our bathroom, what have you. Did any of that happen to you as a Gator on the track team?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. It definitely happened, and it literally started. Those kinds of things happened even before I left Ocala in 1968. I got numerous letters, numerous threats. Don't come out on your porch. Dear N, you'll never make it to Gainesville. Da 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 da. And that's what gave my dad that fear that I would be killed. And matter of fact, my dad told me before I left Ocala, he said, I'm not going to let you go to that school because they're going to kill you. And fortunately, though, I had other relatives who were in the community, and they realized the value of this scholarship and the fact that I should go. They convinced him let that boy go to school, Cranford. That was his name, Cranford. And so I ended up there. And when we traveled, Shane, uh, it was a joyous occasion because as teammates, we shared in that joy of our accomplishments, of our athleticism, and what we could do, what we were doing. Um, but when we were out in the public socializing, specifically to your point, we went to, I think it was a tri-meet at University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa. And we went to a restaurant. It was getting close to dark. And we went into this restaurant and immediately the atmosphere, you could sense it. It just changed. Everything got quiet. People turned and looked. And I heard a voice behind the counter. It was like a bar kind of restaurant with a long bar, tables for eating. A voice behind the bar said, "We don't serve Negras in this here restaurant."
Mm.
And being 19 or 20 at the time, and probably a little stupid as well, I said to him in return, "Oh, that's okay. I don't eat them anyway. You don't serve them, I don't eat them." But my teammates, I told my teammates, "Listen, I'm going back to the car, get me a hamburger, bring it back to the room, to the hotel." We had already checked in the hotel. And they insisted, "Nope, you're going to sit down right here with us." I, being a product of the civil rights era in Ocala, I grew up during the civil rights era as a teenager, noticed one of the guys leaving. Ominously, to me, it was ominous. And he returned very shortly with literally a rifle across his chest. And he made the
Wow.
big announcement. "The man told y'all we don't serve niggers in this here restaurant." And believe it or not, my
Mm.
teammates were like, "We're not leaving." I'm like, "Y'all are not leaving. I am out of here." So they joined me and we trekked back to the hotel without a meal, by the way. And a group of men from that restaurant followed us all the way back to the hotel. It was that way even during competition, Shane. You would hear the N word. You'd frequently hear the N word, but that served to inspire me. That was motivation. Okay, see how you like me now. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Triple
So,
jump.
I mean, that it's hard to imagine that the stories you're telling. Did like the other schools at this tri meet, did they have any black athletes on their team
Yeah, they
at that
did.
time?
Yeah. FSU had Charlie Harris. There was one guy who was a walk-on at Alabama, and there was another school that had a black athlete as well. Who was that? I can't remember right now, but yeah, a few schools had black athletes on their teams.
Wow.
A few, yeah.
Andy asked, Ron, what motivated you to come back to serve at UF on all the boards and voluntary initiatives you've been involved with?
Now that right there, Shane, and to who? What's the name of the person that asked the question?
Andy, and Andy lives up in the Chicago area. He's a big time Gator though.
Andy, that is one of my passions, and what led me to that started with my career in the Navy as a naval aviator. When you're flying jets from an aircraft carrier, you don't have much opportunity to do other things that you might like to do or want to do. The most important thing in your life is to land on that carrier safely. You don't have a choice as far as the takeoff, but the landing is a different story. After my career in the Navy, I decided I need to give back to this school. This is something that made a huge difference in my life. So I volunteered, literally volunteered uh, to serve. I think I started with the Alumni Association. It was either that or the F Club. Yeah, it might have been the F Club. But that opened doors to other organizations on campus and throughout the athletic department, throughout the Athletic Association, which is still to this day one of the joys of my life. I love serving the University of Florida.
Yeah, and you're very involved with the Gator Club of Clay County now as well. Um, Before we let you go, I got to talk to you about your track program. This guy Mouse Holloway is unbelievable.
Woo! Yes, he
I don't
is.
know how well you know Mouse, but what he's done is just incredible. And I got to ask you too, can you run and do a long jump right now at your age?
I can do a jump. We'll see how that long part translates. But yeah, I literally had uh, two hip replacements and doing quite well. You would never know it. And I'm still very engaged with staying in shape. And I tell you what, to your point, Mouse Holloway and that track team are incredible. Wow, they
Yeah,
are.
they really are. And he's got a lot of guys going over there, guys and girls going to the Olympics, and his record speaks for itself. Conyer Ron on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Pun, wants to know what Mr. Coleman currently does. Do you mentor any athletes?
I do, but they're on the local level, and at the high school level, I'm not very engaged, but as needed, as as desired by the local coaches, I go in and give motivational speeches. I at one time thought I would serve as the assistant or walk-on assistant at the local high school level, and quickly learned that my techniques are not the techniques that are used today. It's a lot of technology involved today, and I was not up to that, but I'm still actively engaged in a number of local organizations, charitable functions, nonprofits. I head up a couple of boards. I've been chair of the Clay County Development Authority, Orange Park Medical Center, the metropolitan area, Jacksonville area YMCA. Just still very involved because it's what I like to do.
We have a question here. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
I have, as a matter of fact, considered that, and I like to think that I'm a good writer. However, I've
Well, you can get
never.
somebody to write it for you. You can just tell your story and they can write it.
There you go. There you go. I often tell my cousin that she's the 83-year-old cousin of my family who knows all the history. I mean, in detail from years and years ago. And I often tell her, just all you have to do is just talk. We'll record it and we'll get somebody to write it. Well, I hear Shane, you're telling me giving me that same advice. So maybe I'll take you up on that.
Yeah,
I've
I
thought
mean,
about
your story's outstanding. I mean, to be the first at a school like the University of Florida, and the stories you could tell. I mean, it's amazing. I don't think people realize. I mean, I've heard stories from my dad, who passed a couple years ago, but just the story you just told about that restaurant. I mean, I think people, especially the young people, don't understand that. It's still hard for us to understand that
it.
happened back in those days, and it may still happen in some places around the country.
Hmm.
It's crazy. We got a text here on the Titan More text line from Jesse. He says, "Ron, do you follow any of the other Gator sports?"
Absolutely. I followed them all. There's no doubt about it. There's one that I'm not really sharp on, lacrosse. I'm working on it
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
But I
it's a good
do
sport
follow.
though.
Yeah. I don't follow them as closely as the others, but I'm getting into it because within a year or two, my wife Barbara, and I will retire. She will retire. I'm currently retired, by the way. And we will move back to Ocala. Barbara's my high school sweetheart. So we'll move
Mhm.
back to Ocala and on a small farm that we have down there. And I will be even more so engaged in the sports arena at UF, 35 miles away.
Yep, that's awesome. All right, last question for you, and we'll get you out of here. This is from Roger. He says, "How close are you with Leonard George and Willie Jackson Sr.?"
Very close for years. Leonard George and Willie Jackson Sr. are the first two Black football players at University of Florida. They arrived 1 year after I arrived in 1969. And we have kept track of each other through the years. Just the other day, communicated with Willie Sr., and I think it was 2 or 3 months ago with Leonard George right there in Gainesville. So we keep track of each other. We're close. We're close friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to let you give a plug for the Clay County Gator Club. You're still involved with them, right?
I am. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if anybody listening to this program that lives in Clay County that wants to be involved with y'all, and by the way, folks, I spoke there last year. These folks have it going on, man. It is a fun group. If people want to be a part of it, let them know how they can do that.
Yeah, thanks for the plug, Tony. Really appreciate that. I mean, not Tony, Tony Agalini. You hear
Oh,
that?
Tony. Oh,
Yeah,
Tony.
yeah,
Tony's a
yeah.
good dude. He listens for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So I know that the Clay Gators is the premier Gator club throughout the program. We love Gator sports. We love bringing in folks who are going to give us the lowdown on what's going on. And I encourage all of the folks in this area, if you're looking for an outlet for Gator sports, for friendship, for fun, claygators.com. That's where you need to go. You'll find us there, and you'll find all sorts of events and programs available. Clay Gators, sign them up.
Well, Ron, we appreciate your time, my friend. We appreciate your service. We appreciate you being a pioneer in the civil rights movement. We're a great Gator, and you have a tremendous story, and we appreciate you taking the time to join our program, my man.
Thank you, Shane. It was my pleasure. Take care, everyone. Go
All right,
Gators.
that's Ron Coleman joining us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Tomorrow's program, we'll have JC. We'll do some Peachland Dental picks. We'll also have Dr. Pete Indelicato, former Gator Doc, will join the program. Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food, Tropical Smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. Hope everybody enjoyed today's program. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.
Did I think I did. Oh, I'm still there.